But you never know that you could. And when you feel that way, ain't it good, good dancing in the red and gold. And dancing in the red and gold.
What's up, Faithful? Welcome to another episode of the 49er Faithful UK Live. I'm Paul Hope, and he's back, baby!
I know, I guess that makes me Nick Ludlam.
Well, Nick, the crowd have missed your bubbly smile, your awesome face, and let's face it, how long have you been away now? I nearly downloaded the Eminem music, but I didn't want to get us kicked off YouTube. Not as we've been waiting for you to be back. But welcome back, buddy. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, it was a bit of a longer break than intended. My body decided to find a brand new way to fail me entirely once again. It ended up in hospital, just about avoided surgery on one of my eyes. So we're back up and running, just in time for the draft.
I was going to say, there's nothing to talk about. I mean, El Presidente answered the back call last week. He stepped in. There was a few wild guesses, Nick, for your replacement, from Grant Cohen to Jerry Rice to Joe Montana, but there was only one man for the job. So I just want to say thanks once again to Lee for stepping in and having a blast on the 49er Faithful UK Live. But these good people have come tonight to hear our thoughts on the draft at the weekend.
True.
So I'll just load it up. No expense spared. The intro music by the Red and Gold Gathering of Strangers can be downloaded. That is running across the bottom. But unfortunately, chaps, they need to be replaced tonight with all of our draft class. So it took me a good 10 minutes to type that up, people. All in order. So, Nick, I did see that you were our representative on, is it the UK Lions show?
Yeah, Roar of the Lions. Yeah, they very kindly asked if I'd jump on for a little bit. So I jumped on at about 3 o'clock in the morning, Friday night. I had a lot of coffee in me. Admittedly, I also had a few golden mules going by that point as well. And of course, literally the moment I click leave and come back to the 49er Faithful UK Zoom call, the Niners have traded up. Literally almost immediately. And well done, lads.
Yeah, I'd seen that they tweeted out the link. Strange one for me, everyone. So I know you've come tonight dying to get all our thoughts. But for the first time in a while, I wasn't that plugged in this weekend, Nick. So you mentioned the 49er Faithful UK Zoom call. It did feel weird declining the invitation and not registering for that event. So before we get into the draft talk, how was the Zoom call? Because I did have definite fear of missing out when I saw that went live.
It was good fun. You know, it was just a nice way to just chill. We just chatted about random stuff. I introduced the 49er Faithful UK to the Swansea Taco Bridge. And for anyone, just Google Swansea Taco Bridge. It really does look like a taco. It's horrific. It was lots of randomness. It was lots of inane talk. It was a lot of fun. We had a good old laugh. And we got to see some new Niners gameplay, baby. You know, what more can you want from a Friday night? Although, by all accounts, Paul, you had a pretty special Friday night yourself.
Friday? Trying to think. Saturday was the main night. So Friday was spent wrapping presents, blowing balloons, checking invitations. And no, I don't mean out at the draft with Luke Jones, his good lady, Lisa and Ryan, who we will get on to later, folks, because I'm sure you'll have saw an awesome job they did representing. But to be fair, Nick, yeah, it was my stepdaughter Kaylee's Sweet 16 on Saturday night. Now, this next revelation, everybody may want to be sat down. So from 6 p.m. on Saturday till 1 in the morning, believe it or not, I did not check my phone once. No update on Twitter, no post on social media. I was plugged in as de facto cameraman. And as I said to Nick off air, we created a reel for Kaylee's birthday and it hit 1,000 views this morning. So I might have to wrap in this content creating game, everyone, because the views are clearly somewhere else. But all jokes aside, mate, thanks for bringing that up. It was an awesome night. She had a blast. It was a whole lot of fun. And Sunday, I'm going to sound like a mini celebrity, I went down to Lincoln to the launch of a cocktail bar in Lincoln High Street. So my uncle, auntie and cousin have a cocktail bar in Grantham, and they opened one in Lincoln on Sunday, and I was invited to the launch. Now, I'm not saying I was the VIP.
I was going to say, they need a local celebrity. That's why they had you, Paul.
You know, so yeah, I've had a busy weekend. Now, Matthew, we can't just jump straight into the talk. I've seen you've been very active on our good friend John Chapman's show, and I am sure that is why a lot of the people in the comments tonight are here, because they want to hear our thoughts. But before we dive into that, I want to hear some of Nick's thoughts on the trade up for pick 87, because we were scheduled to pick at 99. The news came in. What were your thoughts when we went at pick 87? Were you thinking there was someone in mind that they took, or did you just think it was well planned by John and Kyle?
To be honest, I think if you go by the mock draft earlier in the week that you guys had done, Jair Brown was pretty much a consensus pick in that third round. So, they obviously loved the guy. They went up and they got their man, and we had the draft capital in behind us. So why not go get your man? Why risk losing out for the sake of a seventh rounder? The guy looks fantastic. He's going to be in there. He's going to be learning his trade. Chances are he's looking more towards being that replacement for Huff's partner, whose name is all of a sudden completely escaping me. Gibson. That's it. Thank you very much. But he's got that year to chill a bit. He's going to come in. He's going to do some stuff. Chances are he might get a few snaps at nickel, maybe see what's going on there. But on the whole, he's going to be coming in to allow Gibson and Huff to get some rest. He's going to get some snaps. He's going to get his chance. And then next year, if they reckon he's ready and Gibson says, no, that's it. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful couple of years. Hopefully he's retiring with a ring. And then he just slides in right there next to Huff. And then we now have our two safeties for the next gosh knows how many years, and they're there. And I don't know. I sort of looking back at Goldson and Whitner a little bit, and I'm thinking, have we got another pair like that all of a sudden? And it's exciting, because at the moment we don't know what's going to happen. That's the beauty of this time of the year. In theory, all 32 teams still have a chance of winning. Reality is they don't, because let's be honest, the Rams are a dumpster fire. Sorry, Ramilio, I know you're in the chat, mate, but I've got more hope of lifting the MVP trophy at the Super Bowl than any Rams player has, unless they trade to another team. But it's that wonderful feeling. The players are there, and it's I've seen it described in a number of ways now by a lot of content creators. It was a luxury draft.
But to jump in on that, I was searching, right, because I'm going to jump all over what I do best. So I'm smiling because you mentioned our mock draft. So for you good people who may not have checked it out, myself, El Presidente, and the hostess with the mostest, Gareth, did a mock draft on Thursday. We will get to the kicker talk, Matthew, because that was featured highly in said mock draft. Now, Naji Kara, who's our resident college expert, you've done well, Nick, when after the real draft, Naji texted the group chat and was like, you lads weren't far off. You got a couple of them right. And Brown was one of them. Now, I know there's a criticism on he didn't time well in the 40, but if you look at the way we evaluate a defensive back, he's not running the 40 in a straight line. But if you look at Hufanga, if you look at that footwork, if you look at that athleticism, which is what the team look for, his instincts are there. He's got the leadership skills from what I'm reading. I'm not saying that Brown is going to make that leap like Huff did. But like you said, Nick, if he can sit, observe, learn, and like I've written down on my notes here, the 49ers do this year on year. Remember the talk about Aaron Banks being a bust? And then John and Kyle come out and said, we always keep an eye on next year. And where I've heard the talk that you said there, that this was a luxury draft, one eye on next year. That's what the 49ers do. Like you said, run it back with Gibson this year. He was clearly on the verge of retirement. He's had so much fun with Huff. He said the team, I'll come back. There's no pressure on 87, pick 87, having to go straight in. And as Colin has put there, perfect timing, Colin, buddy. Wilkes knows his DBs. This is his guy. Hot take. Now, a few people pushed me for would the Niners use all the picks or would they move around the board? And we said, that's the luxury of this team. We had the ability to do both. Now, I was quite happy with that pick. I'm guessing from what you've said, you were the same.
Yeah.
So, and as Brett Sinclair has put there, mental speed beats physical speed. And I do think that he could be an impact player. And I think he'll take advantage of the mistakes made by the opposing offense, like he did at Penn State. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert in college football, but what I always do is when we draft these players, I go away, I watch the game tape, I go and read the articles. I may have been away Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but Monday, and I was off work today, being plugged in, been doing my homework, doing my research, and it's exciting times to be a 49ers fan. We already had a great team. We've got 88 of the 90-man roster there. I think we'll pick up a quarterback, which we'll touch upon later, possibly another offensive lineman, or possibly an edge, who knows. But I'm confident, Nick, that this team, the scouting system we've got, the front office, has done a fantastic job. And you see the teams getting an A+ or an A- or a D after the draft. I'm not buying into that at the moment, buddy. I don't know how you feel about that. That's why I raised it at the moment.
I've seen a few C-. Really, you're going to judge a draft the day after it's happened. It's for me. It seems lazy, particularly from the NFL, because the NFL Network they put a huge amount of stock into this, the post draft rankings and how each team did, and they've obviously blown a lot of smoke towards the Eagles and the Seahawks. That's great. It's all really, really good. But how are they going to do when it comes to the game? How are they going to do when it really comes down to it? Nobody knows. Absolutely nobody knows. This is why you have draft busts like Ryan Leaf. For every hit, you'll have a miss. And we have no idea who the misses are going to be yet. We have no idea who the hits are going to be yet. I know he's not one of ours, but look at Tariq Woolen. 5th round draft pick last year. And then all of a sudden, arguably should have been the defensive rookie of the year ahead of Sauce Gardner. You don't know where these players are going to come from. And like we've said, Wilkes knows his DBs. Colin's got that spot on. You've got to love some of these picks, man. You really, really do. I think we're going to see a lot of improvement from our secondary this year. We've had that improvement from the middle of the field while D'Amico was our defensive coordinator. We had that improvement along the front when Robert Saleh was here. Now let's see what the DBs can do. If we can put all three together, and that's a scary defense. It is a scary defense that got some really good tools in the draft. I know we've focused heavy on Jair Brown, but I'd be honest, one of the ones I am really excited about is D. Winters. And he's just scrolling along at the bottom there. Thank you for that. Came in just the right time. He looks fantastic. He really does. He looks like he's going to be that.
You did that on purpose, so I had to scroll up and down my notes there because I have them in order. But it's all right, Nick. I've missed you, buddy. Welcome back.
But he was the one that really excited me, especially after seeing Coach Kasarik on the phone. And you could see how hyped he was. And now, if Coach Kasarik is hyped, I'm hyped. Yeah, let's be honest.
Well, Colin, I've put your comment back on the screen because the 49er Faithful UK are known for our bold predictions. And I want it on record. 2nd of May, Colin said that he replaces Gibson mid-season. Now, all jokes aside, buddy, another one. I've seen Colin on all the shows, Nick. And I love that the 49er Faithful UK are getting out there. We're representing. Absolutely. We're on the comments. We're showing that we know our football. We know our stuff. Now, you mentioned D. Winters. Now, for me, the description I read, as soon as I read this line, Winters plays with a level of aggression that screams 49ers style. Then I saw that clip with Kasurik on the phone to him. And then you look at the game tape. He finished 3rd among all linebackers in the draft in tackles for loss, pressures, sacks per game. He was 4th in the pressure rate. Now, a lot of people think the pressure rate, the 49ers are quite good at generating pressure on the opposing quarterback. And we've always said that Wilkes will be more aggressive. He likes to use the linebackers to blitz. That's what he does. That's why I think Hufanga might see his numbers go up even more if that's possible. For me, best case scenarios for Winters is he develops into linebacker 3, which may come at the expense of your man Ball. I do apologise for that. He's a better college linebacker than some of the current options on the roster were in college. But I'm not saying he's better than Fred Warner or he's better than Dre Greenlaw. I'm just saying when you look at the tape and you look at what he was in college, if he comes in and he smashes his role at special teams and he nailed down that linebacker 3, our linebacker room is in good hands. But I believe it'll be an interesting battle. And I know you're rooting for your man Ball, which understandably, when you meet a player on the current roster, of course, you're going to be rooting for there. So we're not going to the kicker just yet. I'm not giving these good people that
Absolutely
information.
not. We're going to eat our veg before we go for the pudding.
Now, I'm feeling quite smug because before the draft and when we did the mock draft show, we talked, Nick, that the 49ers had met with every tight end in this draft class. And it showed out of the 9 players drafted, we took 2. Now, there's some argument on there that should you be using 2 draft picks and 2 tight ends. What did you make of that decision? Why I catch up on the chat? Because what we're trying tonight, Nick, is El Presidente gave me some constructive feedback. So I will get to the chat, people. We are seeing all your comments coming in there, but I'm trying to be a little bit more El Presidente-like. So bear with me. But what did you make of the 2 tight end pick, Nick? Did you think it was good, bad, waste of resources? Happy?
I'm happy with it. I mean, we've not had the production out of Dwelly and Warner that we wanted. That's why we had to go out and get Tyler Croft. So if you have got a deep draft at tight end, why not go grab 2 new ones? Let's go see what they've got. Chances are we're going to be able to stash at least one of them on the practice squad. And I've got a feeling Cameron Latu might actually beat out one of the other 2. I mean, they're not on expensive contracts. It's not going to cost us a huge amount in drafts, in cap space. If we were to get rid of one of them and he gets beaten out, let's go for it. You know, I would love to see some more of those sort of those 2 tight end sets that Carl used to run at the Falcons, and he simply hasn't been able to do it here because he's only really had the 1 tight end at any given time. And unfortunately, Kittle hasn't always been available. We all know this. It's the only knock you can put on Kittle because you can't knock him on anything else at all. So why not? You know, let's go out. Let's see what Cameron Latu can do. Let's have it.
The reason I wanted to go down the tight end route, I've seen some people disagree with the selection of Latu. A few people feel we should have took an offensive lineman. We should have maybe took Blake Freeland or Nick Salvadiri, possibly Keely Ringo, among others, which people said would have given us depth at that draft position. Now, the content creators, the analysts, the mock drafts, the drafts, everyone's entitled to their opinion. That's why we love this wonderful game of the NFL. But straight away, the first bit of deep diving that I did, Nick, was John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan. I went and listened to what they say. And Shanahan was saying there wasn't an option there at offensive line that we liked. And we've took this kid. He was one of the few tight ends to be invited by Kittle to the tight end university. We know what the locker room input is at the 49ers. And let's face it, I do think Kyle Shanahan has been very clear that he wants to run the 2 tight end set. We got Jordan Matthews in, converted wide receiver at tight end. You know, we were high on the kid from the Jets last year. There was just a few people that it didn't quite stick. So I wasn't surprised to see us take 2. And I think Kyle Shanahan isn't as hung up if the kid that we drafted in the, let's have a look, round 7 is
Braden
better
Willis
than the one that we drew round 3. He's not bothered. He's brought them in. As Neil has put there, jumping all over people, like if he was to grade this draft, he'd give it a solid B. But if you factor in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th we traded for CMC, becomes an instant A+. Alex Simpson's already got the notepad and paper out, Colin. So you're on there with your bold prediction. But Let's face it, Alec, your record isn't as crystal clear as some. Great to be joined by a member of the admin team. So Eric is in the chat.
Cheers, Eric, mate.
Nice to see Nick back fighting fit. We'll hold that thought, Eric, because when we get to the Would You Rather, I may not be sharing those sentiments. Colin's jumped in there that if he could put some money on it, he would, because it is a bit of a niche take. But I do like that, Colin. I like the fact that you've put your money where your mouth is and you've put your take out there. So Kimmy has joined us in the chat and put that they like Latu. Eric, read my mind, buddy. That is correct. So we're not doing the kicker talk yet. Everybody's come for the kicker talk. Lee was absolutely devastated on Thursday when we were like, we want Moody. And as Martin Hughes has said, and I'll get to later, that clip did do all right for us. So,
it did, didn't it?
We've talked about the tight end. We've talked about the safety. As host, where you go next, Nick? Who should we talk about? Who else are we going to look at here?
I mean,
putting you on the spot.
It's all been pretty good, to be honest with me. I mean, I think you're going to look. I'd like to look at it as a whole before we come to the kicker talk. I think it needs to be looked at as a whole. You can clearly see where the influences are, especially with the likes of Steve Wilkes coming in. You can see where the Niners believe there are improvements to be made depth-wise because there weren't any starting jobs available. John Lynch came out and said it. There aren't any starting jobs really available, offense or defense. They're pretty much sewn up. There was only one job going, and we'll come to that. So it looks like a really good draft. Like I say, I'm happy with it. I mean, I can't be unhappy with it at the moment because I haven't seen them play in the NFL. So I'm going to give them that chance at least first before I, go doing them to the trash heap.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like you said, I've been aware. I've done some evaluations. Now, a shout out to the big hitters. So your likes of John Chapman, Wayne Breezy, Steph Sanchez, Aponte, they smashed it out the park. When I've been trying to catch up, to be fair to Tracy, she was obviously happy that I obviously dedicated my weekend to family time this weekend, and got to put the comment up. So Ty was very confused for those people who may have seen my social media post. Now, there was no Niners gear, Ty, in that photo, but I do have a Niners wallet, and I had my Air Force Ones on, which have got a little bit of red in. So I was always representing, but Tracy is the main man, the main person, sorry. She get me sorted out. It was a great night. And to be honest, it was nice to be unplugged for a little bit, but I did have envy when you were doing the Zoom call. What I was meaning about where should we go next, I was interested on your talk about Robert Beal Jr. Now, I've seen some people basically say he's a clone of Ibukam and that the athleticism was off the charts. And when Lynch spoke to his head coach, Kirby Smart, they said, you've got a gifted player here. This kid's going to be special. And the fact that we took him later on and we saw what Ibukam did under our D-line coach. So if Beal can do half as much as Ibukam, I'm quite excited by that pick as well. Trying to think again.
Well, this is it. I mean, you've got with Beal, if you can get 100 to 150 snaps out of him, all of a sudden it's going to take some pressure off of Drake Jackson, which is I think will help him. I don't think we want to be putting on too much pressure on him. So yeah.
And I think what people seem to forget with the 49ers, I'm not talking about the 49er Faithful UK and the good people in the chat. We have our kind of wish list of what we want in a player. You look at Darrell Lutter Jr. Again, he fitted that stereotype of he was an athlete. And the 49ers have been known to take a chance. And let's face it, we've selected 9 players in this draft. If all 9 could come in and make an immediate impact, that's like obviously what every team wants. Yeah. But for me, I quite enjoyed not being as plugged into the draft. So the Gridiron magazine dropped a couple of days before, so I had to read through that. And it was a bit difficult as a 49ers fan because obviously they were talking about the top 100. And I was thinking, wow, we're not really we've got one pick in the top 100. Now, if you're watching Gridiron, very annoyed that there wasn't a certain player in the top 100. And I think Matthew will agree with me with when we put that segment up in a minute, because there was one name missing off that top 100 list, and that might come to bite you in the bum. But equally, Nick, catching up over the last few days has been awesome. And kudos to you, because what time did you stay up till to be on that Lions show?
All right, so well, after coming off the Lions show, straight back into the Zoom call. I don't think I went to bed much before 5:30 in the morning. It was a late night, and then of course, not a massive amount of sleep because I'd get up. I had to be semi-functional as a human being in the UK at reasonable times to get things done before I could then spend another 6-7 hours watching more draft, and then another day of more draft. It's one of those wonderful weekends of the year, and it's just football. That's it. It's just football, And then, of course, the moment the draft's over, then you have the hustle for the undrafted free agents, which, admittedly, I don't know as much as this year's crop as I did last year's. But there is one name. We were speaking about him off air just before we came on, Jack Coletto, who could very well be Juszczyk's heir apparent. You look at his stats from the Oregon State Beavers, and they're fantastic. They really are. There's a lot. There's an awful lot of scoring plays there for that young man. Is he the next offensive weapon for the 49ers?
Well, we are going to deep dive into the undrafted free agent class next week, everybody, because me and Nick don't want to give everything to you on night one. So what we've decided is we've had a couple of week break. The first week, we decided to take a bit of a break because there wasn't really much to talk about. Then obviously Nick had his issues, which he allowed me to share. Yeah. I don't think I did a great job conveying injuries, mate, but I tried to keep it as factual. And obviously the message was get well soon.
Yeah.
The one
I won't go into detail about it.
No. To be honest, you were on the chat last week and you were making eye-related puns. And I was like, is he doing this on purpose to catch me out? But it meant you were in good spirits. Now, the one that I've seen Brad Graham be very high about, and remember, he rates the offensive lineman better than anyone out there, is Joy Fisher. He's even tweeted out, and I'm looking at the tweet now. So before we came live, he tweeted out that Joy Fisher, the offensive lineman, has a little of Trent Williams in him when he's evaluated the game tape. Now, if that can translate to the NFL, an undrafted free agent could become a steal. But we will look into that next week. Eric, it's like me and you, different continents, but we're tuned in. So Eric is based out in Singapore, member of the 49er Faithful UK admin team. Eric keeps the ship steady when we're all asleep. But yeah, Joy Fisher is definitely an interesting one. Now, Alex Simpson has jumped in with a question. So he's put, what do you guys think to what the Seahawks and the Rams have did in the draft? Have they closed the gap, Nick?
The Seahawks had a quietly good draft. I admitted to such on the Roar of the Lions show. They still have Geno Smith as their quarterback. So you can only close the gap so far. He's not going to... Geno Smith is not going to win you a Super Bowl. It's that simple. It's not happening. Maybe they get into the playoffs if they have a run, or they get a bit lucky like last year, where actually Detroit obviously went and beat Green Bay, which puts them into the playoffs at the expense of Green Bay. The Rams, are they even relevant? Are they even worth talking about realistically? Because I was speaking with this again with the Rams guys. With the Lions guys. What on earth is Stafford still doing there? And even they said the same thing. If you're Matthew Stafford, even if you're the Rams, you trade Matthew Stafford while he has some value, because your team is so bad. It is so bad. It's got more holes than a roll of Swiss cheese. It's insane. It's horrific.
I've heard sneaky rumours from my friend Mike, who's a Rams fan, that it's a tanking season because they want that USC quarterback, Williams, is it? I might have his name. So, who knows? I mean, what I will say, Alec, for me, the Seahawks did well. Obviously, they are trying to build up that Legion of Boom defense again. They're going from the back to the front. But what the Seahawks seem to forget, that yes, the NFL is a passing league, but the NFC West is a run, smash mouth football division. And for me as a 49ers fan, they didn't do anything that addressed some of the glaring weaknesses when they play against us. That was my personal opinion. But again, I do think that they had, you can't argue in this modern NFL about adding the talent when you get it. And for me, the draft players that they've got will make an impact. But I think they have closed the gap closer than the Rams. Like you said, I think the NFC West is between the 49ers and the Seahawks. The Cardinals and the Rams are just kind of fighting it out for who's going to finish bottom. And that's
I wouldn't even give the Seahawks that much credit. I'll be honest, mate. I expect to win this division at a canter. All I'm expecting from the Seahawks is a decent push, so that those 2 games in the year actually help us build towards meaningful football. I absolutely expect us to win this division. I don't expect the others to be close.
No, true, but I just mean Witherspoon, who I think Alec is talking about. He has the tools to be a shutdown corner. I think that's what they wanted when they traded for Adams and they gave all those picks away to the Jets. And I think Pete Carroll and the Seahawks, they build their team similar to us. They've got a model. When I say similar to us, they stick to what they know. And we dodged a bullet with some of the people they could have taken. But I do think there will be a shock to the teams that they play, especially out of the division. But obviously, the Niners are winning the NFC West. I was trying to be diplomatic, mate. I was trying to be, but I like your positivity. You got to remember, I do a pod normally with Najee, Gareth, and Lee, and sometimes they try and bring me down a little bit when I'm very excitable. But Matthews jumped in there that he agrees that Fisher had a round 4 or 5 grade, could be a gem. Collins jumped in that the Seahawks had a lot of equity due to Russell Wilson. It would be hard to blow it, but fingers crossed. And as Eric has put there, the Seahawks don't have a Trent Williams, a CMC, a Kittle. So the optimism amongst 49ers fans is pretty good, I would say. Now,
and so it should be.
Now, people, just let me get this loaded up. This is what the good people have tuned in for tonight. So if you were watching the mock draft on Thursday, Lee was GM. I was the offensive coordinator. Gareth was the defensive coordinator. As the ticker tape says at the bottom, when we were discussing kicker, I was very clear. Yourself and Neil Graham were in the comments. I was on board. I was plugged into the fan base. It was who I wanted. You wanted a kicker. I wanted Jake Moody. And as the infamous clip says, it's who I want. That's who the people want. 27th of April, 2023. Paul Hope, the Vice President of the 49er Faithful UK. So, my thoughts on that pick were it was absolutely awesome. We needed a kicker. We got the best one in the draft. And as the Patriots proved, if we'd left him, we weren't getting him. Yeah. Now, if he becomes half as good as Justin Tucker, if he becomes... rephrase that. Robbie Gould was set to make $5.5 million this season. And Robbie Gould is a great kicker. If Moody pans out the way we hope he pans out, his whole contract is $3.5 million. We've got Gonzalez. We've got Moody. Now, there is going to be a camp battle, all in name. But I am all in. Team Moody. Buy your tickets now. Get on the bandwagon. We're starting it, Nick. Najee's got the Brock Purdy. We're on the Team Moody. Here we go. But yes, I will be brutally honest. I was surprised to see the pick come in, but I was quite smug because we'd pushed for it on the mock draft show. And Tracy was like, why are you smiling? When I was catching up, I was like, we took Jake Moody. We took a kicker. That's who I wanted. And she was like, oh, boys and the toys. But what did you make of the pick? And are you on Team Moody?
100%. He was the best kicker in the draft. Not even close. Not even close. And it's like you said, if we'd left him, we would not have him. Now, we didn't have a 4th round pick. There was no way he would have lasted to the 5th. The Niners obviously knew that. I mean, the Patriots went out and took the number 2 guy. I dare say there was probably another team, maybe 2, that may have looked at it. Not saying they would have pulled the trigger on that number 2. But even if they don't, and we come back around and the number 2 kicker's available, well, why would you want number 2? You have a starting job available. I know you've tried to be very diplomatic about Zane Gonzalez. There's no battle. I don't think there's any battle there at all. I think Moody wins that at a canter. Again, easy. We only traded for Gonzalez for the contract and as a bargaining chip to potentially try and bring Robbie's wage demands down. It didn't work out. Fair play, Robbie, mate. You've been an absolute legend of a niner. I really hope he has, a fantastic last few years of his career. He deserves it. He's been absolutely brilliant for us. I hope he misses every kick if he happens to play against us. But it doesn't mean that I dislike the man, This is now Moody's job. And why would you want to go? Why would you want number 2? If that's your only starting role, why go and get the second best player? You're completely undermining everything you've done pre-draft. You went out and you got the best player pre-draft, minus Jackson. I don't really count him as a true free agent because of that restricted free agent tag. But you went and you got Javon Hargrave. So you went and you got number 1. Why then sit in the draft and accept number 2? That seems pointless, Go and get your man. Go and get your man, the man you want kicking, the one that you are comfortable handing the ball to with 3 seconds left and 40, 50 yards to go.
Well, I tweeted out earlier. So Jack, the Ginger Jesus, whose name is awesome, he tweeted out, credit where credit's due. The 49ers now have the best offensive lineman in the NFL, the best all-purpose running back in the NFL, the best fullback in the NFL, the best true tight end in the NFL, the best wide back in the NFL, the best linebacker in the NFL, the best defensive player in the NFL, and now we have Jake Moody to add to that list. And as Alec put there, it was a compensation pick. Now, I know Brett Sinclair is in the chat, and Brett is a big fan of John Chapman. I've seen John's reaction when the pick was announced, because a lot of the big hitters were doing live shows like Watch Alongs. Jason Aponte, who's a personal favourite of mine, he's well documented. He's not a fan of kickers. He even, on the Sprint Right option podcast that he does with Andrew Pasquani, he actually took his headphones off and walked off when the pick was announced. And then he's come back and he's dusted it down. But like you said, for me, Kyle Shanahan afterwards was very clear. They see this more as a 4th round pick, the way that it works. They were aware. And I said this before, there wasn't many teams that needed a kicker. But like you said, the Patriots kind of, I say, vindicated us. Neil Graham put a good comment to that effect. Moody wouldn't have been there by the time we got to the 5th round. And for me, you know yourself, you do fantasy football. I'm in a live fantasy football league. Logic goes out the window, right? We never stick to what the rules are. As soon as one person takes a quarterback, there's a run on the quarterback. As soon as one player takes a running back. And it's similar process. The team had their board. They had their players on there. And for me, I am over the moon that we've got Jake Moody. Now, Tracy, I don't know whether I'm getting a Moody jersey yet. If I am, it might come from our good friends in China. But I am starting the Team Moody bandwagon. And I had to after that mock draft last week. And to be honest, buddy, what were your thoughts when we went on the mock draft and I was doing the whole banging the drum and Mr. Gowland did not want to take a kicker, did he? What did you think of the mock draft show?
He wasn't happy with it. You could see it. He was motioning towards somewhere else. I mean, you could see there was pain as he was clicking, and it wasn't arthritis. That was emotional pain. You could see in his face. He didn't want the kicker, but it's what we needed as a team. It was what we needed as a team. I said it on when you guys were on there. I didn't feel comfortable with Zane Gonzalez in any way, shape, or form. You're looking at a kicker that for some reason can kick anything from beyond 50, but once it gets to within 30, he misses.
I said camp battle. What I think they've done quite cleverly is Jake Moody is obviously the clear best kicker in the draft this year, but he's not coming in as the only kicker. And like you said, he should beat Gonzalez hand down. But I do like that attitude we have in the 49ers. He still has to come in and earn his space.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I can't.
It's not going to get given to him.
No. And that's what I like. Now, for you good people who tuned in and may have wanted a bit more in-depth analysis of the draft, do not worry. The Awesome Foursome will be back tomorrow with our pod, which we have a lot more time than the live show. We wanted to kind of touch upon quite a lot in tonight's show. Obviously, Nick has been away, so the kicker talk was one thing everybody wanted to talk about, Nick.
Of course.
But it's not the only issue that people come for. Now, as you'll have seen, I had our good friend, Mr. Gowland, on the show last week. Now, I was worried that he was going to try and outdo even you. And his wasn't bad, but it wasn't to the level of Nick Ludlam. Now, I was going to go first tonight, but Mr. Simpson beat me to the tweets. So, the good people have waited 40 minutes. They need to know whether your recent spell away has seen you mellow a little, or whether it's seen you have time to plot one of your usual ones. So, yes, people, it is that time for Would You Rather.
Well, hopefully, the break has allowed me to rejuvenate my evilness, seeing as you've been so mean to me over the sort of last few months, really, because you've gotten pretty evil yourself, Paul. I thought I saved a pretty good one for El Presidente last week, throwing that little cat in the bag. I thought, let's have a little go. But this one, here we are then, Paul. Right. So, Paul, you have been drafted by the San Francisco 49ers. You are a 6th round pick. Now, we all know that's the late round, they're money picks. That's where the Niners find their future Hall of Famers. Now, you're going to get to choose your position and who you are going to be the heir apparent to. Now, both positions are going to see you have a long and illustrious career. But would you rather sit and learn behind Kyle Juszczyk for a year, becoming the team's next major offensive weapon? Or you're going to learn behind Arik Armstead and you're going to be that center stone for that arch on that defense? Are you going to be that fulcrum? Are you going to be the staple of the D-line, that run-stuffing man that doesn't stop? Who's it going to be, Paul?
Well, Dan Evans has jumped in and put there's no chance that you've mellowed. The king of Would You Rather has returned. Now, Nick, you have surprised me because I was expecting it to be a little bit more evil. Now, you have met me in real life. You are a friend off screen as well as on screen. Now, any comparison to me and Arik Armstead is definitely not something I thought I'd be talking about. All jokes aside, I don't think I'd be one for getting my hands dirty in the turf, and I don't think I'd fancy my chances against blocking some of the absolute beasts in the NFL. Given my recent kind of dipping the toes into the flag football world, I'm still not got a position nailed down. I'm
going to stop you before you go, because I think I know where you're going. Now, just remember that fullbacks have got to block too, and they've got to pick up some nasty edge rushers, and they've got to do it quickly. You're going to take some big hits from the likes of Chase Young.
I do like the fact that if I was just on the Arik Armstead, that's all I'd be doing. Where at least if I'm the heir apparent to Juszczyk, I get the odd cheeky touchdown now and again, and I get the odd offensive rep, which is what I was saying at the moment. I'm kind of on both sides of the ball for the Steel River Stingrays. Our recent trip up to Glasgow, we only went with 7, so I played every snap as blitzer and then wide receiver. And given that I'm 42, coming off the back of a serious injury, yeah, it wasn't pretty the next couple of days. So, as Alex Simpson has put there, I'm going to go for the juice option on that one. So, yeah, you're right. I wasn't minimising the hits, but I think in the back of my mind, I could take the punishment knowing that Kyle might give me the odd offensive snap. And as Eric has put there before I ask you mine, definitely good to see you back fighting fit. And he's called you an evil man. That wasn't me. That was Eric.
Halo here, man. My mummy says I'm a good boy, and you can't call my mummy a liar.
So I have mine written down. As you all know, the 49er Faithful UK were well represented out in Kansas. We had Luke Jones and his girlfriend Claire. We had Lisa Walker-Lawrence and her son Ryan. First of all, I just want to say it was awesome to see that they were on the 49ers social media, that were flying the flag. Now, what you will have seen is both had a unique experience. So Lisa and her son Ryan met the one, the only, Joe Staley. Spent some time with him, got an autograph.
Now, I don't like where this is going, Paul.
Claire were good enough to meet current QB1 Brock Purdy. So my question to you, Nick,
I didn't
would
like
you
this
rather do the Lisa and Ryan experience and meet Joe Staley, or would you meet Brock Purdy, but you're only allowed to pick one? I'll just drop the microphone, shall I?
I knew this was coming. As soon you go halfway through, like I know this is going. He's going to be all right. See, he's mean to me. This is bullying, and it's recorded on the internet. It's live on the. This is live internet bullying, people. This is
I've just
horrible.
offered you the chance to meet either a 49ers legend in Joe Staley in a bar,
Or
imagine the
potential
stories,
next Joe
or
Montana. Oh. Every part of me wants to pick the quarterback because it's the quarterback. It's it's the most important position in sports. Apart from the center, he's the only man that touches the ball on every single offensive play. He's the guy that can change the play. I saw his first ever play on the NFL on an NFL field. I was there when he came on. I've got to take Joe. It's Joe Staley.
yeah,
It's Joe. It's the Joe show. Why that isn't a thing still, I don't know. But we need that back in our lives. We need the Joe show back. It's got to be Joe.
So the reason for my would you rather was actually quite a nice reason to start with. I wanted to give the guys who were out at Kansas City the kudos, as Eric has put there. They did an awesome job of flying the flag.
Really
now,
did.
I am going to leave people tonight with a teaser, but I'm not going to mention it now. But at the end of the show, I'm saying it to tune in because we've got a little bit of information that we're going to give away. But it just goes to show, Nick, that the 49er Faithful UK, the links we've got with Nick Clark, the links with the organisation, again, the fear of missing out, as much as I had an awesome family weekend celebrating daughter's 16th birthday, going and seeing family in Lincoln, I'm not going to sit here and say seeing them guys represent over there was absolutely awesome. And most people will have noticed El Presidente managed to get himself on the background of the official 49ers app. So
I
you
seen.
opened the app, there was
There
El
he is.
Presidente.
I looked. I did have to double take on that. I opened. I went, close the app down. Tried to just open it back up. Yeah, that's Lee. What on earth is he doing there?
Apparently, there's no truth in the rumour that every time you open the app, you got 0.0.1 pence royalties. That's just a lie that Mr. Gowland put out there. Now, Eric has come to your defence that my would you rather is horrible. He takes back everything he said about Nick, but he also agreed Joe Staley for him, but BCB might overtake him the next decade. But the reason for that would you rather is I'm sure if you spoke to Lisa and Ryan, they're going to tell you their experience was awesome. Of course it was. You speak to Luke and Claire. Now, something that I can share, apparently, some guy just pulled up next to them on a tricycle and was like, do you want to come meet Brock Purdy? They were like, is this for real? Yeah. Can you imagine jumping on that tricycle now, jumping up in there? I mean, look at Brock. He signed Claire's jersey. He obviously posed for the photograph with the 49er Faithful UK flag.
Very cool.
I'm not going to lie, Luke. I see that in your social media. I instantly saved that and I got that tweeted out. But it just goes to show you the decision you've got to weigh up. If you're only going to get to meet one, who would you have picked? So I did save a very special would you rather for you coming back, mate.
That was a harsh one. I mean, yeah, I think it did have to be Joe in the end. Like I say, the man is just... He's phenomenal. Do you remember when he signed that last contract? And he's there with his daughter, and he just goes, "Yeah, Niner for life." And I was like, yeah, you could see how much the team means to him. You know, even at the draft again this year, he's obviously been away from the team a little, but he's obviously still around the players here and there. They obviously still have his number because, well, he used to be their teammate. But you can see how much it means to him. Like that man bleeds red and gold.
Yeah, like you said, the Joe Show. So as 49er fans in the UK, we obviously have to go and search for the content. We have to be on YouTube, we have to be on Twitter. So the Joe Show, one of my favourite memories of that was when Jimmy had just signed his contract and he's in the locker room and he's like, basically, sing for me. And Jimmy sings for Joe. Of course you sing for Joe. You don't not sing for Joe. But one of my favourite GIFs, memes, whatever you want to call it, that I use on Twitter is Joe Staley strutting up to Sourdough Sam. And I believe that may have been at the last Wembley game, which leads us nicely into the London game. Now, Alec, we know as much as you guys. Neil Graham dropped that maybe May the 4th, Star Wars Day, for all the Star Wars fans out there. We may see an announcement. Now, obviously, as soon as we find out whether the Niners are coming to London, we will obviously put something out there because both sides of the pond are excited for this, which is going to make it an even more unique experience. But yeah, I thought I would save you a very special Would You Rather, mate. So welcome back. I've missed you.
Yeah. Cheers. I might need another break after that.
So what he means, everybody, is next week's Would You Rather will not want to miss, because I already know he's thinking of something.
I am. I'm going to have to go full evil. It's going to have to be done now.
As I said earlier, everyone, the Awesome Foursome will be back. I think it's tomorrow that we're recording. It won't be a live pod, but we're going to record, obviously, everyone's thoughts on the draft. Obviously, the pod will go out on all the usual platforms. Now we're kind of back, heading towards OTAs, training camp. I don't know if you caught TED Talks Ball last week, Nick, but he's a good friend of the show, and he is going to be at the training camps. You know, normally when I talk about the content creators, the likes of Ponte, Brad Graham, Ted, who's a very good friend of ours. So when we're able to drop things like, this happened at training camp, per our source, we will actually have eyes on the ground, which is pretty awesome. Wanted to give Ted a bit of a special shout out tonight because he's had a few of the 49er Faithful UK on his shows. He's a big supporter of what we do. He's flying the flag. I know Alex Simpson is the next to join the long, illustrious list of 49er Faithful UK on there. So keep an eye out, everybody, for Alec being on with Ted. And I've also put forward the other Welsh wizard, that is Gareth Ellis. So me and Ted have had a chat. Gareth is keen to get on and talk all things 49ers. Though I think Ted's more interested in finding out how Ted controls me, Nagy, and Mr. Gowland. Because it's a thankless job.
I need tips. Man.
Well, when you proposed this Would You Rather segment of the show, I said to you off air, I wasn't sure. I don't think I'd be able to come up with one every week. Now, you keep saying mine are evil. When I've looked back, I've offered you some pretty good options here, and you're taking this to heart.
From time to time, but you have been like proper nasty to me as well. I know I've been nasty to you. I can't deny that, but I think you're definitely the nastier of the two.
You knew where I was going with that one, though, didn't you?
As soon as you start talking, I don't know where he's going. I know where he's going. He's appealing to the autograph hunter in me, and it's like, I've got Joe. I do need Brock. Brock's expensive. I can't get Brock. He's very expensive. But it's Joe.
Well, earlier, because I was off work today, so I had a few things on. Tracy was catching up with some work. She was like, what are you doing? And I had like a proper chuckle, and she went, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing my Would You Rather. Now, to be fair, I will share with you, it was going to be an autographed item. And then when I sat down, I thought, actually, meeting them as well. So I could see the blood drain from your face. Now, I saw a comment earlier that I want to put on there because Tracy does watch the show, everybody. Of course she does. She has no choice. Now,
She's sat downstairs watching right now.
Probably not, to be fair. But Eric has put on there that Tracy wants a Moody jersey for Christmas. Now, Eric is a very romantic soul. I've seen some of his social media posts with his good lady. So, Tracy, if Eric is telling me that's what you want for Christmas, we'll get matching his and hers. Team Moody.
I have a feeling someone will be in a mood, that's for sure.
Might be an interesting Would You Rather the week after Christmas with a black eye, but...
yeah.
And as Matthew was put there, Moody can't have 13 because that's Brock's number. So, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I have been using the GIF of him in the Michigan colours. I'm waiting for them to put Moody in 49ers colours. It was like when CMC came across and the GIF was with the Panthers uniform. I was just wanting to. But, Nick, I'm digressing because there's a very special shout out that I want to do tonight, and I think you will agree with me. So, our good friend Chrissy, who has been on my show on Let's Talk Sports, content creator, all-round legend in the 49er Faithful UK community, her and her now husband, Chris, tied the knot today. So it was on my notes to give them both a special shout out. Obviously, congratulations, guys. I've seen
congrats, guys. Awesome.
Social media. Looking forward to welcome Mr. and Mrs. across the pond to share in the London game. And I just wanted to say on behalf of everyone at the 49er Faithful UK, we wish you a long and prosperous, happy marriage. And Nick, You were a best man recently, so you could have said that better than me. But to be fair, I just wanted to give them a shout out because they are a big supporters of what we do. And obviously, it's great to spread the love.
Absolutely, man. It's awesome when you get to see things like that. You know, obviously, we do tend to live in our little 49er bubble. I know I do on social media. There's a bit of Giants in there. There's a bit of Warriors in there. But it's very much a Niner-centric bubble. So it is nice to see when these wonderful things are happening for really nice people.
So, Nick, we're on 55 minutes. We always like to keep it to about an hour. So before we shoot on out of here and we let these good people enjoy the rest of their night, I teased a little announcement earlier.
No.
So,
We
did have Luke. Well, Mr. Gowland has taught me well. So Luke and Claire were out at the draft, as we alluded to in this week's Would You Rather. And Luke has very kindly reached out to the group, and he may have an announcement that you will not want to miss. Now, all I'm going to say is it's linked to the draft and maybe certain items that Luke may have brought back. And he's kindly given me permission to tease a little announcement. So for those people who are part of the 49er Faithful UK Facebook group, the details will be in there. Obviously, if you just follow us on Twitter, we will put it on Twitter. The only caveat is it's only open to UK-based 49er Faithful UK, and you will understand when the details go live. But am I right, Nick? You won't want to miss this.
You really don't. I promise you, you really don't. I am itching to tell you. But I'm not allowed, so I won't.
Now, before you finish up, Nick, because I know we've kind of rehearsed this last little bit, I do just want to say thank you to everybody who has liked, subscribed, who interacts with us on Twitter. If you're watching this video back, please leave a comment on the YouTube. The channel is going from strength to strength. We're over 500 subscribers. Now the draft is finished, we're going to start bringing more content about, obviously, when the schedule's released. Lee's going to do his special San Francisco show, which I believe you'll be part of, Nick. Obviously, the live is up and running. The podcast will be in full strength. But we couldn't do it without you guys. But if you're not subscribed, if you haven't hit that like button, please do. Hit it now. And I think, Nick, that leads us nicely into...
Go Niners.
Go Niners.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in our heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, Deep Clark, Garrison Hurst.